You know how I like to spend these long, dystopian, lockdown-induced evenings? By exploring Japanese Netflix. Something I can do thanks to today's sponsor, ExpressVPN, letting you change your online location to whatever country you want. And the reason you'd want to do this is A, Japanese Netflix categorizes its content completely differently, making it way easier to discover little hidden gems from the glorious land of Nippon, like Little Miss Sumo, as well as unlocking a whole range of different anime, like, oh my god, Yu Yu Hakusho, thank you for waking me, while also keeping you safe online by protecting your oh so valuable personal information. And now, I'm not saying there is a homicidal clown trying to track you through your IP address at right this minute, but there could be. ExpressVPN, link in the description for 3 free months. So, 2020, not really a fan, if I'm to be honest. Some directions that I would personally not have taken, but holy hell, someone made a 14-minute SpongeBob SquarePants anime. That person being YouTuber Narmak, and I love this thing. The beauty of it not just being the sheer absurdity of seeing SpongeBob and friends filtered through the lens of shonen anime, but the commitment to that idea, the fight scenes, the music, the voice acting, it's also pitch perfect. It barely feels like parody. I mean, just listen to the line delivery from Patrick Star here.
大切なものを守れる強さ、絶望に立ち向かう勇気、イカルドは確かめようとしているのだ。
It's that commitment that carries through every part of the SpongeBob anime, making the story of Squidward's gradual descent into darkness so much more stupidly compelling than it has any right to be, to the point that I think I enjoyed this more than most actual anime I watched this year. You hear that, Kimi no Boku Saiga no Senju? Didn't think I'd swing on a random anime like that, did you? Well, it's 2020 and I'm fucking pissed! Oh, what I'm saying is SpongeBob anime is a glorious high point in a year of lows. And if that sounds like something you need, link to everything I talk about in the description below. Rainy Season is a game where you play as a little boy, only for your family trip to an amusement park to be cancelled due to rain, forcing you to spend the entire evening inside with your family. And if you want to know why you'd ever want to play something like that, I want to point you to Eurothug 4000's video, The Extraordinary Ordinary, a fascinating journey into the unusual and often surreal world of life simulators. Their power to create nostalgia, comfort, and taste a slice of existence that lies entirely outside of your own. All delivered with this serene chillness coupled with an infectious enthusiasm that just draws you in to the point that you're like, maybe I should play this crab farming simulator. This is what Eurothug is so good at, creating these relaxed but passionate, polished video essays on the creative power of video games. Whether she's talking about how scale in games can let us experience life through entirely different perspectives, or how titles like Splatoon and Jet Set Radio burn themselves into our consciousness by being unapologetic celebrations of youth culture and individualism. Unfortunately, Eurothug 4000 is also one of those channels whose mountains of potential and quality of video does not match her subscriber count. So my beloved wolf pack, let's see if we can't do something about that. There are a few corners of the internet that fill me with the sheer absurdist joy of Kiki's Flip Notes, where you will find a collection of 10 to 30 second animations that can be anything from bizarre, cute, and surreal depictions of video game characters to reimagining photos of the natural world as these joyously energetic little shorts. The insane part being that these animations are done using the Nintendo 3DS Flipnote app. The fact that Kiki's Flipnotes is able to manipulate such a simple program into creating animations that shoot dopamine directly into the joy centers of my brain is a testament both to the man's talents as well as the idea that you don't need a lot of fancy software to make something cool. I mean, just look at this little dance. I've watched it maybe 1,000 times and it's so good. Lastly, my Let's Fight a Boss co-host Bryan recently released a video chronicling his vast and strange video game memorabilia collection in a beautifully shot and exceptionally well edited journey through the fictional worlds of Bloodborne, One Piece, Nintendo, and many others. As Bryan takes us through the stories of why these pieces are important to him, as well as the weird and strange journeys that brought them into his life, all with this really endearing underlying message of finding your own happiness through the fictional universes you love. I'm aware that Bryan's inclusion here could be seen as some kind of nepotism, but to anyone who listens to the podcast, you will know that I think Bryan is an evil little goblin person who dedicates his every waking moment to tormenting me, whose inevitable destruction I will one day bathe in like the warm glow of dawn's first light. But the guy made a great video, so if you want a beautifully laid back way to zone out and kill some time, check this out.
Oh, I'm sorry, man, I didn't know. JK, I knew all along that she's sucking on my hoes like a
Anime is not just hot people punching each other. Anime is not just hot people punching each other. Anime is not just hot people punching each other. Damn it! God of High School is less a show and more 22-minute injections of pure uncut adrenaline spread over a 13-episode season, which somehow manages to jam in 2 entire fighting tournaments, both of which manage to build to an exciting, satisfying climax with a pounding pace and escalation that barely gives you a second to breathe. In episode 1, it's like, oh cool, this guy does taekwondo and has fancy kicks, but by episode 3 it's like, okay, well I guess stands are real, and by episode 4 karate wizards are pulling gigantic swords from the sky inscribed with the words, "No one knows where this child came from, it existed before God." There's even one guy whose fighting style is just shark. But that's what I love about this show. It's filled with these crazy, I guess that just happened moments that are so stupid and fun, and sure, there are shows with more coherent narratives and stronger character writing, but those aspects are still adequate here. But you are coming to this show for the pounding, unrelenting focus on action as it spirals through an increasingly insane cacophony of battles. And the fact that it's based on a Korean manhwa rather than Japanese manga gives the insanity a distinct cultural flavor all its own in a show that has honestly just been a ludicrous joy for me start to finish. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we have Japan Sinks 2020, and what I love about this show is how it leverages the strengths of animation to trap you in the devastation of natural disaster. Its earthquake scene from episode 1 being such a horrific depiction of catastrophe, it forces you to consider that our lives, our homes, our civilizations, no matter how in control of them we feel, it can all just crumble in an instant, which, you know, in 2020 is appropriate, but contrasting those instances of widespread destruction are also quiet moments of haunting beauty. There's one scene where our family of protagonists walk through a ruined city to the eerie sound of multiple mobile phones echoing all around them, before they realize that these are the noises of dead people trapped in the rubble that surrounds them, their loved ones hopelessly trying to reach them. It's moments like this that bring the danger that these characters face to life with a cold, near nihilistic brutality, contrasted by the warmth this family has for each other. You want them to survive, you want them to be okay, and boy does the show use those feelings to absolutely destroy you. It is sad, it is beautiful, it is life, and easily one of the most compelling series of the entire year.
She's so nice, she's so nice, she's so nice.
Like my entire Twitter timeline, I have become hopelessly addicted to Hades, and not just because of Megara, although maybe a little bit because of Megara. Hades being the newest, biggest iteration of run-based games, also known as roguelikes, which, if you're unfamiliar, are experiences where you attempt to beat the entire game in a single run, and if you die, you start over, usually with a heavy focus on random upgrades and enemies, creating a different experience every time, resulting in some really fun and unexpected character builds that force you to play the game in different ways. And Hades is an excellent one of those, but to me, what makes this game so special is how it intertwines those run-based mechanics with its narrative. You play as Zagreus, the son of Hades attempting to escape from the underworld, fighting your way through the many floors of hell while being granted abilities by the gods of Olympus. But because you are an immortal god, Ling, any death you suffer results in you being reincarnated at the bottom of hell and beginning your ascent again. The really amazing part being that the game's narrative actually takes into account these mechanics, as each failed run is seen as a period of time passing, meaning other characters will actually acknowledge your failed attempts to escape, each successive interaction with those characters revealing a little more about Hades' world, as well as their connection to Zagreus. And because the writing is so good, there is a tenderness to these relationships you don't often get in video games. Take Zagreus' relationship with Megara, the first boss. The two not really wanting to fight each other, but having to because of Zagreus' desire to escape and Megara's pride as a guardian of hell. But then when you finally do beat her, she is now the one sent back to the bottom floor of hell, where you can meet her in the bar and actually share a drink in this beautifully bittersweet little moment. And what lifts these interactions even higher is some spectacular artwork, razor-sharp dialogue, and exceptional voice acting, making for not just a beautifully told story, but something that when combined with the gameplay makes for an experience whose every element spins together with such finesse, it is now a front-runner for my game of the year. Have you ever fantasized about being a giant, amorphous, flesh-devouring tentacle monster? No? Well, tough shit. Carrion is the brand new title from indie developer Phobia Games, and I love how even from the opening title screen, you can tell this game is not fucking around, as you take control of a giant amorphous flesh-devouring tentacle monster attempting to free yourself from an underground research facility, gradually absorbing other quarantined specimens, giving you access to new abilities and forms. But the real treat here is something I could never properly convey through just words: game feel. There is no describing how good it feels to navigate the world of Carrion, shooting your tendrils out in front of you as you pull your massive body through its environment, ripping the armor off mechs and tearing humans in half. But despite how powerful you feel, it only takes a few well-placed pistol shots to relieve you of your health and most of your abilities, and so you've got to be careful. You need to stalk the halls of the facility as a predator of more strategy than brawn, skulking through vents, pulling humans through cracks in scenery and devouring them in the shadows to grow stronger, making you genuinely feel like some alien terror from a sci-fi movie. And that's cool because one thing that video games can do that nothing else really can is let us embody forms that go beyond human, and it's through that Carrion becomes one of the most unique and memorable titles of the year. Real quick, I want to talk about Ring Fit Adventure. No, shut up, it's good. No, you shut up. I get how corny and tired the idea of gamifying exercise is, but the thing is that this game does it, and it does it really well, taking the form of a turn-based RPG where you do different exercises to execute different attacks, tricking you into a varied full-body exercise routine, all while monitoring your form and reps for the best possible results. Do you sometimes look like a tit doing it? Absolutely, but considering the state of the world has left gyms as well as my beloved art of pretend murder strangle unfeasible, this is genuinely the best workout I've had since the pandemic began, and if that sounds like something you could do with right now, you should check this out. Moon is a not-so-new game from Yoshiro Kimura, the famed madman behind Tulip, a bizarre but beloved PS2 cult classic, as well as Rule of Rose, which is also a video game. Moon starring you off as a great hero, cutting your way through enemies in typical JRPG fashion on your quest to take down the Dragon King, before the entire game pulls a bait and switch, letting you now view your former actions through the eyes of a little boy, and revealing the hero to be a violent murderer of innocent creatures. And if that sounds a little played out by today's standards, it's really not. There's an earnestness to this game that is so weird and beautiful as you attempt to recapture the souls of the monsters the hero has murdered, restore them to their peaceful life, all on a 24-hour cycle as you watch both the monsters and the people of this world go about their lives, your task being to understand them and fulfill their needs, collecting as much love as possible. And look, it is obtuse and weird, and some of you are going to play it and be like, what is happening? What am I meant to do? Why do I just randomly die? What the fuck is that? Why does he recommend weird shit like this? And did you see his video about bleach? But for those willing to persevere, what you'll find is a relentlessly hopeful title about the value of love and positivity, and hell, I think we could all do with a little more of that. I started this section by talking about Hades, a game whose every element connects so beautifully it is a masterclass in run-based game design. And Deadly Premonition 2 is like the complete fucking opposite of that. A total shit show of a game, a top to bottom technical disaster. And it's also a frontrunner for my game of the year. You play as Agent York Morgan, a coffee-loving FBI agent who is not Agent Dale Cooper from Twin Peaks, so get that thought out of your filthy goddamn head right now! Investigating a series of murders in the southern Louisiana town of Lucare, your job being to grow familiar with its bizarre array of locales and slowly peel back the layers of the evil that has begun to take over the town. And there is such a weird but open earnestness to this game, in everything from its affection from Louisianan culture to how passionately York speaks about old 80s movies, meaning no matter how bad the combat felt or how low the framerate dropped, I could never bring myself to care. York explaining how he got his brand new skateboard had me more invested than any big set piece from any AAA title I've played this year. I kinda love this game, but I do want to mention that as much as I enjoy it, there's some not great treatment of a trans character. And the character herself is cool, but she is also dead named and misgendered in some ways that were just kinda gross. And I say this post-patch, and while these moments did strike me as more misguided than hateful, I am also really not the person whose opinion matters on that. And so I just wanted to give my beautiful trans viewers a little heads up.
She's so nice, she's so nice, she's so nice.
I don't talk about music a lot in videos because I don't know how to music? Like, what the fuck even is this? There's no way to tell. But I do want to take a moment and shout out some music I've been listening to this last while. The first of which is from Cyric, who creates the kind of stuff I like to listen to when I really just need to get out of my own head and zone out, being these really ambient but powerful tracks that feel relaxing and weirdly nostalgic in a way I'm not sure my simple music brain can quite explain. I just know that it is a damn near perfect sound for leaving the madness of modern reality behind, even just for a little bit. My personal favourite being her track, Seventh Heaven. I've also found myself listening to a lot of Sewerslvt, whose music feels like an old PS2 Tekken soundtrack got dropped in acid, and I mean that in the best way possible, taking these super mellow lo-fi tracks and layering them with aggressive pounding drum beats for this beautifully ethereal but intense sound. Find all of Sewerslvt's tracks on their YouTube channel. I particularly recommend the song Hopelessness. It is just mwah. So, you guys know I like to end these videos on something that personally meant a lot to me. And so, am I going to talk about the beautiful depiction of violence and hatred of The Last of Us Part 2? Or is it going to be the mind-melting concepts of Tenet? Or will it be about wrestling? Recent WWE pay-per-view Clash of Champions was a better night than I think many people were expecting, but it's how it ended that I want to talk about. On one side of the ring, you had Jey Uso, a man who for 10 years had been part of a tag team with his twin brother Jimmy, his entire career haunted by the question, which one are you? But who is now attempting to break out on his own and show the world what he can do. And that's a path that led him to facing the Universal Champion and his own cousin, Roman Reigns. But Reigns has had his own very strange journey to this moment. See, this guy for years has been WWE's anointed one, a manufactured champion for the people, but one that has been entirely rejected by those people. A hero whose every victory is booed and loss is cheered. Reigns, as well as the real-life man behind him, Joe Anoa'i, facing constant rejection. Where this gets kind of heartbreaking is when in 2019, Reigns announced that he had been struggling with leukemia in real life and would now need to step away from wrestling, which thankfully went into remission earlier this year. These are the two stories that led to this night, the tragic part being the two men had grown up alongside each other, and what unfolded was an emotional war. Jey desperately fighting to prove that he was more than just one half of a whole, and Reigns responding by falling to the dark side. The rejected champion of the people becoming a villain and brutally crushing the dreams of the man he'd grown up alongside. And I love this match for 2 reasons. It let Uso, this massively underrated talent, shine as just this heartbreaking underdog, while Reigns' transformation into this cold and terrifying villain left him feeling more captivating and convincing than he ever did as a hero. And so for as grim as the story of this match was, to me, it was also the moment that we watched someone who has struggled, who has bled, who has been through a lot, finally realize their full potential. And I don't know, I think there's just something kind of hopeful about that, especially in what has otherwise been a very bleak couple of months. I know I've talked about the quarantine and the pandemic a lot this video, and I apologize if you're sick of hearing about it, because I know I am. But the truth is, there is currently a massive surge in cases happening in Ireland, and it looks like we could be going into another stage 5 lockdown, which means no outside, no friends, no anything, and it sucks. But all the stuff I've talked about today are things that have genuinely helped me through that, and it's my hope that this video and the things recommended in it can do the same for other people. I don't know when all this is going to end or when we'll all be able to hang out at a con again, but when that day comes, goddamn, it's going to be fucking great. Thanks for watching. Friends, thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, well, I got this little thing going on over here at patreon.com/Super Eyepatch Wolf, where for not more than $1, you can help keep this channel alive like all these highly attractive people right here. This week's best babes are Lee Ford, Bruce Screws Jr., Polly Piercy, Valerie Messinger, Praise Lord Gilgamesh, Isabella Who, and the_flying_tiger_of_Kai. Find me as ever on the currently on hiatus Let's Fight a Boss video game podcast, or on Twitter at Eyepatch Wolf. Friends, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.